Church staff would also like to thank you not only for coming tonight, but also for loving our boss through the years. And in many cases, even taking care of our boss when he was at your church. There are pastors here tonight that often had him speak in your pulpit. There are people here tonight that would meet him at the airport and drive him to his hotel, and then from his hotel to the service, and from the service back to his hotel, and from his hotel back to the airport. There are folks here tonight who carried his luggage, who decorated his room and cleaned his room and prepared his meals and prepared his snacks. There's some here tonight that led the singing and led in prayer or sang a special or introduced him to speak when he was at your church. There are many here tonight who drove great distance to hear him anytime he was within a state or two of you. You would stand in line to get your Bible signed. You would take his picture. You would wait in a long line for an hour or two to simply say, "Preacher, I love you." And then you'd give him that Reese's peanut butter cup that he always loved so much. You see, for over 30 years, he traveled at least once every week, except for 2 weeks a year, and twice many weeks of the year to speak in your churches. So we especially want to thank you for loving our boss. I also want to tell you that when he came home from those trips, the way he spoke of you and the services and God's blessing and mentioned who he had seen while he was there, it was very evident that he loved you dearly, beloved. He loved you very dearly. Dr. Robertson, he not only loved you, but he admired you. He often said you were his number one hero. Dr. Malone, he often said in private and in public, you were his favorite preacher. He always said Dr. Malone, as Brother Hyles put it, had that excited voice when he preached, and Brother Hyles liked that. Brother Hyles devotedly loved the preachers of America and even the world. So I want to thank you for your love and in many cases your loyalty to our boss. You see, to us, the staff here at the church, Brother Hyles was much more than just a boss. He was somehow also a co-laborer. We rarely ever felt like we worked for Brother Hyles. We felt like we worked with Brother Hyles. Somehow he could be a boss and a co-laborer, and at the same time he was also our pastor, our strength, our advisor, our counselor. He always made sure that when you became part of his staff, you didn't sacrifice having a pastor. He still remained your pastor even though he was your boss. But most of all, to those of us that were here on the staff at the church, he was our friend. Somehow he was able to be our boss, our co-laborer, our pastor, and our friend all at the same time. I'm not sure which of life's roles Brother Hyles fulfilled the best, but up there close to the top of the list would be that of being a friend. I mean a friend in every sense of the word. A friend in the sense that he was fun to be with. Sure, he was Moses, Jeremiah, John the Baptist, Paul the Apostle, Billy Sunday, Bob Jones Sr., and John R. Rice all rolled into one. But he was also the guy next door. Dr. Malone, I remember the time we were in the elevator at the Renaissance Hotel in Long Beach, California. And he began to tell you this elaborate story about this sissy that sat next to him on the plane on the way out there. And how this sissy even flirted with him a little bit. And finally, this sissy took out a little bottle of perfume and squirted it on Brother Hyles' tie. And Brother Malone, I remember how he held his tie out like that and said, "Tom, smell right there." And when you leaned out to smell it, he kissed you real big on the forehead and said, "Gotcha." Sure, he was fun to be with. But he was also a friend in the sense that he met whatever need you had. He came as close as anybody ever has to fulfilling 1 Corinthians 9:22, all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. And to Brother Hyles, the saving of some was much more than just salvation. I wonder how many marriages he saved, some here in the room tonight. I wonder how many ministries he saved, some here in the room tonight, mine included. I wonder how many teenagers he salvaged, some here in the room tonight. I wonder how many alcoholics he reclaimed. I wonder how many ex-convicts he restored. Whatever you needed him to be, he would become just that. For example, the girls at the college needed a daddy away from home. So on Thursday night, he would come out to the college and meet with the girls and become their daddy away from home with his bedtime stories and all of his other foolishness that he did with them. Whatever you needed a friend to be, that was exactly what Brother Hyles would become. There are probably hundreds, maybe even thousands, here in the room tonight who feel you were one of Brother Hyles' best friends. And in most cases, you're right. For example, it was obvious to everybody how much Brother Hyles loved Roy Moffett. He cut up with him in the staff meetings, in the services. He harassed him, made fun of him, bragged on him. Recently, he called him up to the pulpit during a service and put his arm around him and said, "Roy, I love you and I'm proud of you." But your little quiet, almost private relationship that you had with Brother Hyles was just as real to Brother Hyles as his relationship with Roy Moffett that we all knew about. If he ever talked to you at length, if he ever talked to you more than once or twice, if he ever corresponded with you a time or two, if he ever did business with you, if you were his doctor or his lawyer or his dentist or his plumber or his mechanic or his waiter, he usually became your friend, and in many cases one of the best friends you ever had. One morning I picked him up at the condominium to drive him to O'Hare Airport, and there was a little restaurant around the corner from his condominium called the Commander. He said, "Ray, I was in the Commander the other night, Mrs. Hyles and I were, and the waiter complimented my tie, and he said I had purchased the tie at a little tie shop up at O'Hare Airport." He said, "So the next time I went to the airport, I looked to see if they had another one like it, but they had sold out." He said, "But they have these same little tie shops in airports all across America. For the last several weeks, I've been looking in every airport I've gone to see if I could find that tie." He said, "I found one this week. Before we get on the expressway, pull in there to the Commander." And he pulled the tie out of his briefcase, and while I sat outside, he went inside and found that waiter in the little neighborhood restaurant and gave him that tie. You say, how could it be? How could one man have thousands of friends and be close to all of them at the same time? I'll tell you the answer. Brother Hyles actually knew God on a personal basis. And part of God's personality rubbed off on Brother Hyles, just like your best friend's personality rubs off on you. In that way, Brother Hyles was a lot like God, like he was in many ways. Since I believe that God can have a unique individual relationship with everyone all at the same time, it was not difficult for me to understand that to an extent Brother Hyles could have a unique individual relationship with thousands of people all at the same time. Brother Hyles was not God, but he knew God so well that he was enough like God that he could have a unique individual relationship with many, even thousands, all at the same time. So if in the next few weeks or months or years you hear someone say something about how close they were to Brother Hyles, that does not diminish at all how much of a friend he was to you